Hi everyone, thanks for joining. We're just going to give it a few minutes while we wait for everyone to join on. One more minute and then we'll get started. Just waiting for everybody to attend. Hi everybody, welcome to the next instalment of our Sage Intacct Function Focus Webinar. This webinar will show you how to close your month end faster in Sage Intacct. For those of you I haven't met before, my name's Laura Lee and I'm an account manager for Sage Intacct UKI customers. Myself and Gary Preston make up the account management team and we work alongside our customer success managers, with our roles focusing mainly on commercials, licensing and functionality. I'll be presenting today alongside Martin Brown, our expert solution consultant. We will have time for dedicated question and answer at the end, but please feel free to enter your questions in the boxes as we go. We'll pause to answer and show if possible. We'll also follow up after the session, so don't worry if we don't get round to your questions. Please look out for the survey at the very end where you can request follow-ups, request content for future webinars, and also give us some feedback. So the agenda for today, we're going to have a quick round of welcomes. I'll introduce the topic and then I'll hand over to Martin to run through these areas of the demonstration, pausing for questions and wrapping up with question and answer at the end. So a quick hello. So as I mentioned, my name's Laura Lee. I'm an account manager here at Sage Intacct. I've actually worked with Sage for about 9 years now, being with the Intacct team for nearly 3 years. I've worked with a range of products within Sage, from Sage 50 to Sage 200. So feel free to fire me any questions relating to those products. And you can see my contact details here on the slide, which we will be sharing after the session. Over to you, Gary.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Gary Preston. I work alongside Laura Lee. I've been at Sage approximately 15 years. A bit like Laura, I've worked along the Sage portfolio of Sage Business Cloud, Sage 50, Sage 200, and anything commercials in terms of functionality, licenses, entities, additional modules. Feel free to reach out to Laura. I would be happy to help. And like Laura, as all my contact details are on the screen above or below.
Thank you. And Martin.
So yes, and if everybody's met me before, you realise that my voice doesn't normally sound like this. I seem to have developed some kind of lurgy overnight. Anyway, less of the bugs. My background is finance. I have a qualified accountant, worked in the industry for nearly 30 years. Now been in a consultant role for the last 10 years.
Thank you. And yes, Martin, thank you very much for plodding along. It wasn't very well overnight, so really appreciate you still continuing today. Okay, I'm going to turn cameras off here and just move into the presentation. So one of the biggest reasons our customers choose Sage Intacct is the tools that we have to help you automate those time-consuming month-end tasks that eat up so much of the finance team's time. It hinders growth and restricts value-add activities. But are you aware of exactly what else is in the toolbox to help you? and are you using them effectively? Some customers on the webinar today may still be in implementation. Some may be fresh out of it and adjusting to the new ways of working, which mean you might not have yet experienced all the benefits that you wanted to get out of Intacct. Even some of our more established customers may have moved into business as usual and then got swept away in the workload and not taken the time to research and adopt everything that's out there to utilise. So today we'd like to walk you through some of these tools, some of which are already available to you, free in the core Intacct Finance module. Others may be additional add-on modules, but we hope to show you how they can benefit your organisation, and then following the session we'd be happy to discuss these in more detail, provide costs and tailored demonstrations where applicable. One of our consulting partners conducted a study of CFOs and asked a question about how much time they spent on accounting work versus time spent on strategic initiatives. 75% of CFO time is spent as an accountant and a protector. Accountants must streamline and be fast with processes and information. Protectors must optimise risk posture and help avoid surprises. 25% of CFO time is spent being forward-looking and strategic. Today, CFOs are doing more mundane things like collecting data, compiling information, and checking for accuracy, all of which are important and necessary, but they'd like to streamline these tasks and free up organisational resources for strategic activities. Their goal is to spend more time being strategic, understanding their results and to plan for growth. But today they're challenged and even frustrated in their roles because they're not able to do the work that they want. From what we've heard from our customers, even when you do have the data, finance leaders don't always know what it's telling them. There's too much information to comb through, compile, and analyse in a short amount of time. At Sage Intacct, we help finance leaders become data-driven so they can spend the time that's needed to focus on strategy without neglecting the accounting tasks that are still very important and need to be completed. And when there's an important decision that needs to be made, don't always have the time that they'd like to understand all of the data. When we talk to customers, the finance leaders are telling us that they own the company playbook and they want to make better decisions using the information that's available at their fingertips. But frequently, they don't have very much time to make those big decisions. So our approach to being data-driven starts with the role of finance. And being a finance leader is evolving. It's all about seeing into the future. The traditional finance leader was a historian. I imagine that most of you were taught that one of your responsibilities was to document the past and do it with precision and accuracy. By capturing history, it helps you to predict the future. This is known as Finance Leadership 1.0. At Sage Intacct, we've been supporting this style of leadership since our inception with industry-leading, best-in-class financial management tools. But in today's world, everything is real-time. Finance leaders are doing more than record-keeping and capturing history. They are leading the company's growth and strategy. Data is real-time. Decisions are real-time. Today's finance leaders are leveraging data and analytics to drive transformation in real time. With data, we can drive the opportunities that are before us and see the opportunities of the future. Leading the future is ensuring the future, and we call this Finance Leadership 2.0. Tomorrow's accountants and financial managers will be the data strategists of the future. They'll provide the organisation the empirical metrics to grow your business and fulfil your vision. With machine learning, they'll be able to predict what's going to happen. They'll be strategic leaders and will drive your organisation to new heights. We don't fear machine learning as a replacement for the finance leaders of the team. We are embracing this technology to expand the finance organisation's capabilities and let them be the master of the future. We call this Finance Leadership 3.0. Our roadmap will leverage machine learning so that in addition to finding your own insights, we'll be able to find them for you. From a technology perspective, there are 3 things finance leaders need to have to be data-driven. They need to have automated financial operations, multidimensional analysis of key results, and synchronized data with other systems in real time. Freeing up resources not only helps save time on accounting tasks, but it also enables your business to scale. If you were to acquire a handful of new companies today, could your finance team cope with the additional workload? Earlier in the presentation, I shared with you that 75% of finance time is spent on accounting-related tasks. This list includes some of the most commonly known tasks amongst our customer base that were time-consuming and manual before they made the switch to our solution. Manual tasks can take up too much valuable time and eat into the time you should be spending being forward-looking. In upcoming webinars, we'll take a deeper look at some of the more specific areas of manual processes that come with the more complex business processes, such as group companies, complex billing, for example, subscription billing, and the revenue recognition problems that are associated with that, multiple system integrations and the struggle in keeping the data real time, streamlining the supply chain, and more. At the end of the webinar, there will be a survey where you can tell us what you'd like to see most in the future webinars. At the end of the demo, we'll tie everything together with another top reason customers move to Sage Intacct, the dimensional chart of accounts and the world-class reporting you can achieve with it. So what is a dimension? If you think about the chart of accounts, every system allows you to account for time and scenario, but there are other attributes that matter to your business, such as customer, supplier, location, department, and so on. These attributes are the dimensions of the business that matter to you when you do analysis. And a financial system should be intelligent enough to know how to categorize your data in a way that's easy to find, which includes a dimensional structure that's tailored to your business, like the one I'm showing on the slide. Dimensions should be captured at the source anytime a transaction is created in your financial system, like this one. It's an invoice that has dimensions by supplier, by employee, and by project. And then with a dashboard, you should be able to filter your data by any dimension to have fast insight into your key results. With Sage Intacct dashboards, we give you, the finance professional, faster insight that is all in one place. Tailor your dashboards to any role in the company, by CFO, by controller, or even by a non-finance business manager. This includes capturing all of your financial and business metrics, and from a high level, drilling down to the detail to explore what's happening. I'll hand over to Martin now to walk you through the mentioned areas in a demo. Feel free to post the questions in the box and we'll pause to answer during the session or pick up at the Q&A section at the end. Over to you, Martin.
Thank you, Laura. I'm just going to select my screen and make myself a presenter. You're not seeing my screen yet, are you?
We can, yep.
You can see my screen, yeah?
We can, yes.
Okay, fine. So the first thing we were going to look at today is the prepaid expense amortization. So this is a module that does require a professional services team to help you install it. So there will be then an additional item to be shown on your menu structure called prepaid expense amortization. So just a few things then for what does the prepaid expense amortization for me to do it. So if you have a lot of prepayments, and what you might have is the case where someone is posting invoices, like an AP person be posting invoices, and then somebody else is doing the management accountant. So the one person posting the AP invoices doesn't quite realize how much information or why that detail should be posted to the prepayment or something like that, or it needs that GL person or the management accountant person to go through those transactions to identify what should be a prepayment. So what this does is the prepaid expenses is that as you will record an invoice to be posted to the prepayments account, it'll go, ha, you will now need to set up the prepayments. Let me demonstrate. So if we look at the prepaid expense amortization, if we're just going to that one here, there's a few things that we've set up is the class. Okay, so these are the class which behind that, if we just went into this one here, went into the edit, you see that we can then, by choosing this one and in the future, that any posting will be paid to the business rates account and it's on a straight line basis. And likewise for the others, got their setup, which you can see here. So if I then just go into the schedules, so these are the active schedules already in place. So you can see here we've got some already that's completed, some which are actually and the completed, it means that the postings have all been done. So there's one here which is in progress. If you just click on this one here. So you can see here that the posting's been made. It shows you the AP invoice. We can drill back to the AP invoice if we wanted to know what that invoice was. We can see that it's been posted to the prepaid expense account, 3,600. If we actually go on to the line, you'll see what the amount of items that have been entered. So you've entered the prepaid expense class. It goes, haha, 14,200. You now need to enter that information. You then can select that information, or what in the one example I've done is that it will automatically create a schedule on the fly. So you need to give it a start date for when your expense amortization needs to start. So that will be provided on the invoice to say what that period start is. And then you can see that it's created all the various monthly postings that you need to do. And you can see here from the GL transaction that those have been posted, and these are still pending, waiting for those transactions to be posted. So just to recap on the one I did, if I go to accounts payable, if I just go to bills, I know it's just American swap, but this one here, which I created for Newcastle, if I just go into edit this one and look at it. So on my line, I said it's prepaid rent, and therefore what I've done is entered the rent class that I need. And then because I didn't select the name, a bit lazy of me, probably, but it's already created a scheduled number for me, and I entered the amortization start date. From that, it calculates all the various monthly charges. So in a nutshell, that's probably as much information here. Is anybody raised any questions yet? No?
Nothing's came through yet, Martin.
Okay, that's fine. So again, I can go in more detail if you wanted to do, but probably in a nutshell, that probably covers it. The fact that what it's going to do is going to go, as you post a transaction, you can automate, of course, the GL posting based on the supplier. You can default the supplier to have a GL posting to prepayments. As you go onto the posting line, it will then say, I need this additional information. And then basically all that happens in the background is that it's done. So that'll save you a lot of time, because otherwise what you would have to do is somebody has to create a journal, correct the prepayments. Someone can set up a schedule, which you can do with a recurring journal or schedule facility if you're all using that one, or if you've considered using that one. But this takes it for me 2 steps further. You automate the start of the progress. It's a proactive thing that's done. No one's going to go through and have to check it, and the schedule's already posted. So the next area we're going to cover off.
I was going to say very quickly, Martin. As soon as I said there's no questions, we've had about 6 in a row.
Really, that's really good.
I can work from the top down if you want us to.
Please.
Okay, so the first one is saying, is there a report I could use to reconcile the prepayment schedule balance as of the 31st of December versus the prepayment GL code? Example, the balance sheet GL code as of the 31st December shows 800,000. How do I ensure that the prepayment module has the same amount to release by suppliers or per schedule name created? It's a bit of a long-winded one, so I don't know if you want to take this one over here.
I'll do my best in the fact that you've obviously got the various different kind of GL reports you can run to be able to do that, to match off against that if you needed that kind of breakdown. But it's not something which probably a question I've asked before. It's a very good question. I'll have a look at that one offline and see whether we can do a report. A report will certainly be easy to do. Just in case of whether we create a financial report or maybe a custom report. That's the other thing.
So Ronak will get back on that one. The next one from Neil is, does the amortization journals carry across info like departments or projects from the source invoice?
Yep. Once you've entered that information, it'll do that.
Perfect. And what costs are involved in setting up a prepaid expense amortization? Karen, we'll come back to that one.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I think it's,
What you were
so,
saying
so I think there's a number of hours. I think there's, I can't
Yeah.
remember if it's 16 hours or something like that. So it's basically 2 days work to set it up, I think.
Yeah,
No
it can vary depending on requirements. The standard is
Yeah,
around 16 hours, but it depends how complex that
yeah.
is. But we can certainly get a call, and Karen, it's a free license in terms of the module, but there are implementation costs which we can get in touch to discuss those specifics.
Perfect. Any more?
No problem. And the next is the code 14200, a nominal code.
Yes, it's a GL code. So it recognises you set up the what your prepayment codes, and you can have a number of different GL codes, and that's probably that could be another way that you could help with your reconciliation. You could have a number of different GL codes with sub accounts as well to break down those differences to be able to do that. Thinking on it, yeah.
No problem at all. Next one from, let's have a little look here, from Christopher. So who enters the details? So the accounts payable processor who didn't realise what detail needs to be entered.
As you open the window, it'll open those windows to say you need this information because of the fact that you've entered a prepayment account. It'll say you now enter this information. So, yeah,
Perfect.
It's quite intuitive.
Sorry, I can only apologise. I've got dogs barking at my end.
Yeah.
So
as long as they don't start mine barking, they're all right.
The next one from David. Can the monthly posting be reversed, amended if the schedule needs to be changed?
Again, it's not one I've considered. I have to take on that one board. If you could take a record of that question down, I'll look at it.
No problem. These will all come out at the end of the webinar
okay.
anyway. So
okay.
Next one from Kim. For every prepaid expense class, does this require a separate nominal?
No, it doesn't have to be. It's just that the way we set it up.
No problem. Like you say, to every question that's getting answered, we'll put a question answer on the community after this today as well. So, so next one from Aaron. For a partially exempt VAT company, what part of the VAT is classed as an expense, and can this be prepaid with the item?
Yes.
I love your answers, Martin. No problem. These are just going to be yes and no's all the way along.
We just probably need to part that one now because I probably any more now because I probably will be running out of time. So if you
no problem.
Any questions I haven't asked,
we'll come back
to them. Yeah. So the next one we look at fixed assets. Okay. So first thing, dashboard. I love dashboards. So every time there's a case for using a dashboard, use it. So this is just to give you kind of examples of what you could use. So it's got some summaries up the top by using the performance cards. Then you've got the kind of browser information, which is almost like you can actually show that we can do assets by employee. So typically, like a lot of people now working from home, to assets to assign to people, you can exactly see where they are, and they don't have that location could be different to the actual office location as well, if you wanted to track them down like that. So here's also that location, that kind of breakdown. You can also do a financial depreciation, so you can exactly see what depreciation is going to hit in the future for management account purposes or forecasting and stuff like that, be able to do that. And this is when we're going to do the tax depreciation forecast. So what I'm going to do is utilizing my dashboard, again, because we're always going to be able to drill down to the data. So let's click on this item. It'll take us to the asset details. So here is our asset number here. If I just jump to the asset to the top, it shows this item is a computer equipment. It shows the date at which the GL posting and it could be an alternative date for service if that was relevant. This is taking us back to that point that this is fully integrated to both purchasing, AP and nominal. So we can drill back to the actual invoice for the fixed asset. So we can see here that's being coded to fixed asset and it's supplied by Primer Printing. And if we go down, we can actually see the map and where that location is. So almost like the fact that if we could drill down a bit further, and we might even actually drill down onto the Buckingham Palace. So it could be an asset that's been assigned to the Queen. Anyway, You get the point here, as you'll see, we can actually do the assignment to location, department, we could do a project, and those are all coming up from that as well. So for just a few things that we can do a photo. If you wanted to have a photo, don't know exactly what the asset looked like. This is coming back to the invoice already that we've seen, and we can drill down to that. Any status changes, you can see whether it's out of service or anything like that, or it could be a partial disposal on that item. And fixed, here's our financial depreciation schedules that are being created. Okay. And you could do tax depreciation. So if those who like to work out their advanced capital allowances and their deferred tax, you'll be able to do that should you wish to. Service, anything like, for instance, if you've got pat testing or something like that, then required on an asset, there could be, this obviously asset doesn't have to be a laptop, it could be something which is unique to the business that we've come. I know there are some businesses that we've talked about with cranes or sort of like lifting equipment, and those have to have like a 6-month certification or stuff like that, so you can hold that kind of data across against the asset, any insurance details. So nobody's actually got quite excited about having the insurance details on asset, but it shows you the possibility of doing that. So where you then get that fixed asset, so I just click onto this one. So this is of that same asset. So just to kind of view, you've got that breakdown. So let me just show you where we got that. So we went to fixed assets, I went to assets, and I can go to the asset, and then we've got that breakdown. So we've got this same item here, exactly the same information you do, drill down, etc. Don't need to go through those again. So fully integrated. Just to cover off some of the other areas where you're setting up your class for your assets. So we've got that default posting, those GL postings you need. You can also do construction in progress. So if we just look at a few we've got here. So we've got an office remodel here. We can go into the further breakdown, what that's made up of, and we can then go into that further information if we needed to. Excuse me. What else? Depreciation methods, of course, we're going to have to set up. We can do straight line, or we can do declining, or all those are like various different combinations of depreciation that are normally common about. And I think that's probably it. And that's where we get our summary detail of where we can reconcile that back to our GL. Okay. So that's what I was going to cover on fixed assets. Just keeping a look on the time, it's about 11:30. I will take a couple of questions if there's any questions, Gary, on fixed assets.
I think everyone got scared off last time. No.
Sorry. Oh,
no, it's all right. It's all right.
You
can only do one or two, and that's just due to like what we're going to cover. So there's just one from Rona again. Where can I see the total net book value per fixed asset register versus the general ledger code?
It's in here, and this is the only kind of bit of a funny anomaly which I'd probably consider at the moment, that you, if you want us the summary information of the whole assets, you can produce these from here, and you can create the report which gets sent to you and stuff like that to do that. Now, why it's done that, I think there's a couple of reasons why we do that. That's a bit of almost like a security thing of hiding a bit of information from certain. I don't know why they would do that, but anyway. It's the only slight anomaly I have on the fixed assets. You can't jump to the summary very quickly. As you can see, it's taking its time, but we can get a report produced by each entity, etc. And then you decide what ranges of those assets come from, and you get that asset breakdown and submit it, and you get an email of the report of the information. So in here is on the detail of those items. You'll be able to see at a particular time what is the net book value, depending on what time I ran it, stuff like that. So press the wrong one. Oh, that's why I was just in the wrong one. So if we were clicked onto one asset, we'll be able to know exactly what the depreciation, the book value is on the book. Okay.
Perfect.
So on this particular one, yeah. Okay.
I've just forgot. I was going to say, just a mark. Is there a chargeable module add-on, and does it need professional services
Yes.
configuration?
It is a license module, and it does require obviously a professional services to be able to implement it.
Perfect.
Again, so roughly about 16 hours, I think. But Laura, if you can, probably anybody that's asking that, can you confirm that for me, please?
Will do. We'll do that individually following this session.
Yeah, perfect.
All right. So the next one is dynamic allocations. It'd be interesting to know who's actually doing dynamic allocations, because the more I actually use this, the more I get excited about the uses of it, because it just takes away that kind of automation. So in the general ledger, okay, as we go to the setup, if I go to the account allocation definitions, this is where we've created our units. So if I'm just going to go with and look at a couple of these, just to show you what the basis of the setup is. Okay, so I'm going to the employee benefits. So what we're doing here is we're going to allocate the employee benefits based on within one entity. We're going to reallocate that cost based on the cost center, and we're going to say we're going to use the whole cost that's been posted to benefits, and we're going to distribute that reallocation based on the balance of our salary and wages account. We've also created a book in which that posting is going to be made to as well. So what that means is that it's not interfering with our accruals book or a standard posting. So this enables us to do that more granular flexibility with our reporting. Okay, so we're then using the balance on the salaries and wages account to reallocate the cost of the benefits. And now we've done that, there is that we're going to post it back to the employee benefits on the basis of the information we've done. Okay, so that was the employee benefits. And for this one here, what I've used on this one, slightly different. Rather than using an account balance, I've used statistical information, and it's based on the number of users that I've entered into against. So I've used users. So I'm allocating the license fees based on the users in each of the departments. All right, so that is currently how it's set up to be. Right, so that's the setup of those. So that just shows you where we can do it. So when we come to run it, we go back into the all, and we can go generate allocations. This is just showing you where you would run it. And you can also do this in a group. So I can pick up a number of those. I could run both those reallocations, both the software cost and also the employee benefits is in a group location. So if I was to put in, say, we're doing this for the end of April, and I selected those dates, as long as they're in April, that's fine. If I select group allocation, I will select down those in if I've set them up as a group allocation. I haven't as yet, so this is purely done on this moment. We've done it individually. All I need to do is set up a group, and it'll run both those two together, or how many different dynamic allocation setups I've done. So you can see here I've done this for a number of things. I can also do it for minority interest calculation and the software allocation, as you see we've done. So what I do is select that. Here's one that's run. So that's what's posted. Okay, so if I wanted to do this for the next one, I'd just put in another line and say that we're going to do this for the next one. Okay, so let me show you what we've produced. So I'll go to my log. So you can see here I've already posted this and it's been passed. I will confess the first time I ran it, I did have a failure, so I had to rerun it, calculation. I had to select the wrong field on one of the allocation. I based it on the entity code rather than on the cost center, so I had to correct myself. So let's have a look what this has done. So this is the calculation that it's done automatically. So Where the value of this is going to be is, for instance, if you allocate a number of things across costs against cost centers, and you want to use a more balanced view or unbalanced calculation. So sometimes you probably do 10, 30, 40% kind of split, which is very nice and easy to calculate. But this is taking out any arbitration or stuff like that. So it's using a real value in which to calculate it. So it's reallocating that 2,500 across my cost centers based on the balance of the salary. So how do I know that? Is because what I'm going to show you now is I'm going to go to my dashboard, and in my controller dashboard, I've added a number of components which is going to support some of these areas that we're covering off today. So in a minute, we will see my dynamic allocation. So there's our 2,500. We've reallocated those costs to those cost centers based on the value of the salaries and wages of that. Okay. So you can see we're also going to cover outliers later on, and I've also got my checklist as well. So checklist, I think, is the next one that we're going to jump to. Unless there's any question on dynamic allocations. Gary?
Hi, Martin. There was one question that came up, actually two. What if you don't want to take out the total cost and salaries? Example, you only want to allocate 100,000, but there was 150,000 in the account in the month. I don't know if that's from the...
So if you saw in the setup, we can actually define what amount that we want to allocate. I chose to reallocate 100%. You could define what that calculation is.
Perfect, thanks, Martin.
And again, if I haven't covered this off in more detail, then I can always, so we can have a catch up to do a more individual tailored demo.
Out of interest, Martin, just for timing, with what you've got to cover next, how long do you think it'll take to cover? Do you think we should best get on to the next bits?
Yeah, so I'm going to do checklists next. So let's go and do the checklists. So like any month end, it needs to be planned and making sure that everybody who's got assigned tasks to do are done. So we can create a checklist. This came, I think, towards the end of last year when we got checklists. So here's a number of things I've just, the fact that how we can use checklists. This example here, we can look at this one for April. I can assign certain functions and what them to do. So we are going to do a very quick journal import in a moment. We'll do a payroll upload. See, we can do revenue recognition. I know that's probably on some of the areas to cover off in the future webinar. We've got those prepayments. If we hadn't taken care of those, the prepaid expense amortization, we could have to do that manually. There's some functions there to do reconciliations and say that someone will say, right, okay, I've now done that, and say I've 100% complete. This is the end date I've done it in, etc. Therefore, whoever's, like, for instance, Emma's the owner on this. So if Emma was the owner and she was doing the management accounts to make sure that everything's complete, she'll be able to see down on this very quickly to say, right, everybody's completed their tasks. We should be able now to run out month end. Okay, so that's a little bit on checklists. They can be used for anything. It doesn't have to be for month end, but just another example here. I'm also utilizing the fact that I can then utilize the collaboration to say, make sure you're all going to get. So when you set up a checklist, anybody in this list is now going to get an email to say that you've got a task to do. I can also follow that up with collaboration to say, make sure that you've seen the information of your tasks that have been allocated to you, etc. Okay, that's checklists. So the next thing we're going to do now is we're going to do a very quick GL import. So go to my general ledger, journals. Now, hopefully most of you are now using this kind of functionality. All right, So the only thing I need to do is just make sure I've got my right date format. Okay, import, done. Should get a green light, which I did. Done. I can now go and see that transaction posted if I wanted to, but if an alternative way then is to, what we're looking at here is GL outliers. I'll come to the bank ranks and realize I jumped onto that one because this just seemed to flow here to do the thing. So what I'm going to look at here is who's going to make that approval. So you can see now I've got on my approvals, there's been a detection of GL outlier. So the GL outlier, what it's going to do, is going to detect any anomaly on the posting to what you posted before. So if I just go into this one here, it shows me what codes looks different to what you before. Hang on, you've not done that. You've not coded it to finance before. On this one here, if I view this one, it's saying this value looks totally different to what you posted before. Looks like you put some extra zeros in. All right, so that's really good. Identifying for the approval, just to make sure that when they're approving something, that the balances of the transactions look appropriate, and it's using this artificial intelligence functionality to make sure that the postings look right. Okay, so that is GL outlier. So the next one we're going to look at is, I'm sure that most of you are doing this anyway, is through cash management. You're doing your bank recs. So hopefully from this that you can know that where we can assign your banks to your setup, etc. You can be able to go through here and identify if your bank will be on the list for things. So we can obviously the main banks are all there, etc. And anything in there you've got like Coots. I know it's one that's been used before. So therefore you just click that and you then go into your setup that you've already do from a bank and stuff like that. So excuse me. This is where we do our bank reconciliations. And mine's set up at top layer. Select my bank. Select my date. I'm on 26 already. I would obviously define my bank statement to make sure I've got the right balance, etc. But what it's going to do now, it's going to apply the rules that have been set up in the background. It's going to check what date or value or something like that you've defined. So now this is the transactions that have been unallocated in the Intacct to a bank, or we've now got our transactions in bank that we haven't managed to what's in our Intacct solutions. And then we can go select they're down here and be able to allocate those to our suppliers, or if it was an incoming thing, we're able to allocate it. There's one thing that has recently come out, which Laura will sometimes be offering you to be able to look at if you haven't already. There's a new AR payment upload functionality, which is really good for allocating cash directly against those invoices. I told you I'd get in somewhere there, Laura.
Well done.
Devil, aren't I? Eh?
He was
So,
adamant, very adamant about that one.
Yeah. That's just fine. When I find something exciting, I don't like a dog of a bone and don't let it go. Anyway, we've covered off prepaid, we've done dynamic, we've done fixed assets, we've done checklists, we've done bank, we've done GL outliers. That just covers off the fact that we have already been created, and you can see that we've got that dynamic allocation in one of our dashboards. We've got this ability to look at our outliers, etc. But you all should be using dashboard. This is where the main value is going to be for you to be able to manage your business better or your tasks better. So it's management by exception. You'll be able to see kind of the ways that all these dashboards that can be configured. So I've created dashboards which show here we can create forecast trend by a chart. I've got the ability to do my P&Ls both for this month, last month, budget, do a difference by variance, percentage difference, what was the difference to forecast, stuff like that. So you should all be using dashboards. Then it's, if you've got like a sandbox environment and you're afraid to do something, use your sandbox environment, create your dashboards and stuff like that. So make use of that sandbox functionality as well if you want to test out this functionality, and then you can deploy it in the real thing. So any dashboard is not going to affect any data anyway, so there's no risk in doing a dashboard from that. So there's no excuse to be doing dashboards. So, and just a couple of other examples here as the CFO dashboard. So really graphical kind of images that you've probably seen. Those who have seen my demos, I do go on about dashboards, and I do go on about reporting, how easy reporting is. So hopefully everybody or most of you have found some value from today. If there's something which I'm not covered into the detail you wanted, then please let Gary or Laura know, and whether we need to set up a further consultation. I'm happy to do that. But I'll hand back to Laura, Gary.
We might need your help on this one, Martin, because there has been some other questions that we've been unable to answer through the session. So
okay,
we've got a little bit of time left at the end.
Yep.
Laura, do you want to outline which ones are the ones that we probably need to cover off? Well, there's quite a few on the list.
Yeah, we'll just go through them from the top, I would say. So I've pretty much tried to put an answer in the box of the ones that we didn't answer. So if we start at the top, which was David Smith's question around prepayments, I believe. Can the monthly posting be reversed or amended? You might have answered that one, actually. Can the monthly posting be reversed or amended?
Yeah, I'm going to probably have to take that one away just to see whether I believe it can, but it's just never a question that nobody's asked me to do. Okay, so happy to challenge it.
I think we ran out of time when we got to how do you track the aggregate balance on prepayments?
So we could, there's several ways that we could configure this. We can either do a number of ways. You can set up that kind of prepayment and use sub accounts as well, kind of to have a further, but you will end up with a shed load of different prepayment schedules. But if that what helps you get through what you need to do, that's fine. Or we can just sort of like create the various GL accounts, or there could be even as might go to the deal. We might utilize the interactive custom report writer. Could be another option where that give you that kind of more granular approach to be able to do that. Again, if we want people want to look at custom report writer at a further stage, Laura, if that's something that people find interesting as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to do a full session on reporting.
There's a number of ways that we could look at this to be able to do that.
Okay. So next one here from Laura Burns. Our AP invoices are entered through third-party software. Is there a way of looking at what invoices have come in to say the prepaid rent account and need to have the additional info entered, re the amortization?
Say that one again for me, Laura.
Our AP invoices are entered through third-party software.
Yeah.
Is there a way of looking at what invoices have come in to say the prepaid rent account and that would need to have the additional info entered, re amortization?
So if this is using OCR technology, that's again something which you should be setting up with that kind of in that layer to be able to say, right, okay, this is, I should be able to recognize this cost now is a prepayment cost, and then automate that posting.
Thank you.
So you can also on the supplier set up default GL code, but you could also set up through your, if it's an OCR, do that kind of, again, back to that artificial intelligence by saying, if it comes from Newcastle City Council, I know the rent should be going to prepayment.
Thank you. Another question here from Christopher. We have a number of deferred revenue transactions. Is there a similar module for deferred revenue?
Yes.
Yes. So that will be the
revenue management. Yes.
Yep. So we're absolutely, the plan is to cover contracts, revenue management, order entry on the May webinar. We will confirm that once we have everything lined up. But yeah, watch this space, Christopher, for that. Okay.
Yeah, again, that's another nice module that is.
Great. Yeah. Okay. I think we answered that one. Let's have a look. can you see NBV in totality as well as per individual asset?
Yes, that's that report which I went to at the end, and we should then produce it. It's a bit of a anomaly at the moment for how I would normally like it to happen, but yes, you do get a report.
Thank you.
What answered the one about the percentage of obviously what you want to allocate?
The salaries, yeah.
Yeah. So
And there's obviously the
if we
markups
had
and
time,
everything.
the fact that we've got a bit of time to go into the GL and go to the setup in the account application, you will say, for instance, if we're looking at employee benefits, we said we're going to allocate 100%. Well, you can obviously define how much you're going to reallocate across other departments. So if you said you 150 was your cost and you want to allocate 100, then you do a 66% value to stuff like that, or you, yeah.
Perfect. I'll let you pick up there, Gary, where we're up to the markup and margin.
Lost where I was now, sorry.
We've got, is it possible to add any markup / margin on reallocated costs? That's Matthew Powell.
Oh, that's, yeah, sorry.
A markup, you can if you post it through a project, because then you've got the ability to apply a upload in a project, but that's the only way I can do it.
So that would require projects.
Yeah, but that might be a good question, which I might see whether I can actually then say, let me take that one away, because I'm thinking now there could be, well, certainly you can be able to do an uplifting projects. I know that's definitely a case, but whether we can actually then say rather than allocate, whether I can allocate 110%, like for a 10% upload, I don't know. Let me look into that.
Okay.
Can you have a recurring checklist?
Yes. Well, when you say a recurring checklist,
I was going to say I get all the easy questions because yes, I know.
So if you get a recurring checklist, that means that checklist was never going to be completed and stuff like that. So we're going back to checklist then. We're going
so
here.
You can repeat it each time, I assume.
Yeah, it's easy. Yeah, so when in the company setup, you create your checklist. And if I want to say I want to now create this for May, I just go and duplicate and call it now May.
You could probably do that quite a bit, like you could do for the month ahead. Well, the months ahead couldn't be, so that's fine.
Yeah, yeah.
There's one here from Ronak. I'm not sure which area of the demonstration it's referring to, but Ronak's asking auto consolidation for the month end. I don't know if you know what that's referring to.
Consolidation or reconciliation, did you say?
The question is auto consolidation for the month end.
So consolidation, we've got a consolidation module and you can do consolidation. If you're looking up to reconciliations, then there's a number of partner products that we integrate with to be able to do that.
Okay, let's come back to that one then. Prepaid amortization. What if a supplier has a mix of invoicing? Some are required for prepayments and some aren't. How would this work in the prepaid expense amortization module?
Right, so in my prepayments, if I've got here a list that's go into accounts payable and create an item, add here. I'm just going to create a Newcastle again because I know a Newcastle there. So it could be, for instance, if we've got one line there and we need to give it sort of like, what is it, 220426-1. Go into my line, 14200. And then that's going to be 2000. For instance, tax detail, let's say 0. And then on this line, it could be, I don't know, something else. Utility charge or something like that. So it's only the item that we're going to create on there. So on this item here, we show the details. I want to say that this one is now, is it rent or something like that? We just go into my arrow glass. Say rent 12 months. So only that line, and again, give it a name or give it a date to say we're starting put it on the 15th or something like that, or 17th. Give it a name, rent. So that's the one line. So we've got 2 lines here. Let's call it 50 quid or something like that. Okay. So there's an example there, which I can do a multi-line invoice. One's going to prepayments, one's going to somewhere else.
Brilliant.
All right.
Yeah, I think we've covered all the remaining questions. We've got a couple of minutes left if anyone has any last minute questions.
Again, if anybody's a bit shy and not answering your question today and they want to go back to you, Laura, if they will send your questions to you, then we can review them.
Yeah. Yeah, as soon as we end this webinar, there'll be a survey. So,
okay.
Yeah, brilliant if people can pop some feedback, some requests, anything on there. You know, it all helps. So, it only takes a couple of seconds to do the survey. We will follow up again, you know, with an email follow up with the survey after the session. You can reach out to Gary and I. Our details will be on the slides, which again we'll share. You do need access to the community to be able to view this recording. We can send you a YouTube video if you're struggling, but we'll be happy to help you set up on the community. Really important resource. At any point in your journey, we recommend everyone registers for that. We can certainly help you with that. But I think nobody added any extra questions, so I think we can wrap up.
I do apologise for everybody that heard my coughing going on the background, but couldn't help it.
We appreciate you're a trooper.
I wasn't looking for a flag.
Right, everybody. Well, thank you for joining. We look forward to hopefully seeing you on future webinars. Thank you for your time, and do reach out if you've got any questions at all.
All right.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you.